Alright, today I'm going to go over how to pick the perfect laptop in a year where finding a great laptop for a great price, it is horrendous. Manufacturers have flooded the market with confusing products and sponsored reviews, so it's easy to just accidentally buy the wrong laptop. What's worse is that prices have gone through the roof. Stores are also deliberately raising MSRP prices so you think you're getting a great sale when you aren't. Well, the good news is you can still find great laptops at decent prices, but you need to know what to look for. And hopefully, if I've done my job, by the end of this video, you will. We will be following this video up with a bunch of top 10 buying guides. In fact, we just launched our annual Best Laptops for Programmers. So get subscribed with the notification bell on so you don't miss them. The first thing I need you to understand is a laptop's true price. On our website, BestLaptop.deals, we have a price tracker that tracks prices right across retailers. That way you can just cut through the crap and see what a laptop is normally sold for. If it's not currently at its best price, you can set a price drop notification to catch it when it goes on a real sale, not a fake one. Now, do not just walk into a retail store and buy a laptop without doing your research, so I'm glad you found this channel. Some of the best laptops are not even sold in stores. At the time of writing this video, two of the best ones, Lenovo's ThinkPad X915, Dell's XPS 13, they're not on any store floor, at least not that I'm aware of. Alright, when it comes to a laptop's display, one of the biggest myths is buying a larger screen laptop means you'll be able to see more. The screen size does matter, but it's only one of three factors that really determines how much you can comfortably see on screen. Resolution and brightness, they are the other two. The higher the resolution, the crisper small text is. A brighter screen, it's also going to make it easier to see. In stores, a laptop screen, it may appear brighter than it is because the store's lighting is dim. Brightness, it's measured in nits. Ideally, you'll want a screen with 400 nits or more. You'll also want one with a resolution of around 200 pixels per inch or higher. We actually specify both brightness in nits and PPI on our website. I've also put some common examples on screen right now. Just to reinforce what I'm saying, on our Framework 13 Pro, it has a smaller 13.5-inch screen. But because of how good that screen is, I can essentially zoom out and see more than on my much larger OmniBook 16. Next, be careful about glossy panels. I wrote this script on a yoga and I had to angle the screen down to avoid reflections. Reflections can happen if you're using your laptop in a bright environment like I was when I wrote this in a coffee store. And when they do, they are annoying. This is another thing you may not notice in a retail store because the lights are dim. Lenovo's Yogas and Legions, as well as Asus's ZenBooks and VivaBooks, they have notoriously glossy screens, so be careful of this. Be aware of this if you intend to use your laptop in a brighter environment. Now, some glossy panels, they do have good anti-reflective coatings like Apple's MacBooks. We actually test for this and call it out in our individual reviews. In general, a high brightness screen, I'd say 500 nits or above, that will help you deal with reflections on a glossy panel. But if you do plan to use your laptop outside or in a very bright environment, well, you'll want a matte panel or one with a nanotexture display. Those prevent more reflections, but there is a trade-off. Content looks a little grainy and less vibrant. Talking about vibrant screens, OLEDs are generally better than IPS panels as they can display true blacks, just making content pop more. Same goes with mini LED panels like the ones in the MacBook Pros. The best displays are tandem OLEDs. They get brighter than regular OLEDs and they have less ghosting issues than mini LEDs. Now, on that note, one of the big areas that budget laptops just cheap out is their displays. Cheaper gaming laptops, they often have panels with poor color accuracy and ghosting issues. Under $1,000, guys, that sort of thing, it is par for the course. But don't be tricked paying more for a gaming laptop with one of those displays. Both Dell's Alienware 15 and Aurora, they have this issue, as well as HP's Victus and Gigabyte's Gaming A16. On thin and light laptops though, you also have to be careful of cheap displays like TN panels. They have awful viewing angles, or they have bad colors. In a reverse of fate for Dell, their new XPS 13 has one of the best displays in a sub $800 laptop. And Apple's MacBook Neo that I have right here, that also has a really good display at its price point. Speaking of the XPS 13 and the Neo, picking a laptop with the right processor is one of the most important decisions that you'll make. It's going to determine what you can do on your laptop and what you can't. It is also one of the biggest factors in how long your laptop will last on battery. Now, unfortunately, understanding a laptop's processor today, it is a nightmare. There are way too many options, and the product names, they don't tell you how they perform. Perfect example. In the old days, Core i7 processors were faster than Core i5. Simple. Today, a Core Ultra 7 could be slower than a Core Ultra 5 if that Ultra 5 is from a higher tier, like Intel's HX tier. Clear as mud. Anyway, I got good news. We've done the heavy lifting for you. On our website, we have simply grouped all laptop processors into 4 tiers: poor performing, basic, good, and max. Now, poor performing processors like those in the MacBook Neo or the Dell XPS 13, they should only be purchased if you are on a really tight budget and sticking to tasks like browsing the web, office applications, and responding to emails. Basic performing processors, they are a noticeable step up. They are snappier for those kind of tasks, and they will give you more longevity out of your laptop. They're also good enough for most students. Now, good performing processors are what you should get if you're using demanding applications like photo or video editing, you're doing coding, or anything like that. Same goes for people who want to play the latest AAA games. Anything less than a good performing processor will slow down a discrete GPU if you're pairing it with a discrete GPU. Now, max performing processors are for people who want the most performance out of their laptop. You're video editing large and complex projects, you want to play the latest AAA games at high settings and high frame rates, and anything like that. But keep the following in mind. If you go for a powerful laptop, most likely your battery life will be worse. If you want great battery life, well, look for a laptop with an Apple M series chip, an Intel Core Ultra Series 3 one, or a Qualcomm Snapdragon X processor. Those are going to give you the best balance of performance and battery life. Now, a little note on Qualcomm-powered laptops. Office tasks, basic computing, they work really well on those laptops. I own the Slim 7X, which I'll link below, and as I said, I actually wrote the script for this very video on it. But be aware, Qualcomm laptops run a different version of Windows. Now, not all applications work well on that version. You'll really want to ensure that your apps have a native Windows on ARM version. And if you don't know what apps you'll use in the future, well, I'd probably avoid Qualcomm laptops, at least right now. Also, please keep in mind, even though some creative apps do run natively on Qualcomm's hardware, they do not have powerful graphics. So those apps, when run on Qualcomm's hardware, will probably underperform other laptops that you could have bought at the price point. When it comes to memory, 16GB, it's the safe amount. 8GB can be very restrictive and should really only be bought if you're sticking to light tasks or playing simple games. If you run anything more than this on your laptop, you'll see slowdowns or apps just won't run. To test this, we opened a lot of Chrome tabs on our 8GB of RAM Dell XPS 13. After opening 24, we actually saw it slow down. You may be surprised to see that we were even able to open so many tabs. Well, memory is freed up by swapping unused tabs or applications to storage and then bringing them back in when you need them again. Most modern laptops have fast SSDs, so this is a pretty quick operation. But eventually, an 8GB of RAM laptop, it will run out of steam, like ours did. Stepping up to 16GB allowed us to hit 60 tabs before the laptop gave us slower loading times. Now, you may have heard some people say 8GB of memory on a MacBook goes further than on a Windows laptop. We actually tested this and it is true. In the case of our Chrome tab test, we hit 40 tabs on our 8GB of RAM MacBook Neo before it started to show issues. But regardless of how well macOS handles 8GB of RAM, some applications won't run on that little memory. As I said guys, 16GB, it's much safer and will allow you to run, professional applications and modern games without issues. Whether you need more than 16GB, that is situational and really depends on what you're running. For example, exporting one of our videos on a 16GB of RAM laptop versus 32, it made very little difference. You're talking a saving of 30 seconds over a 7-minute export. 24GB of RAM, like in the higher-end MacBook Pros, I think that's ideal for most programmers. 32GB of RAM, plenty for 99% of people doing, demanding work on your laptop. Above that, it is a complete waste of money. You'd really have to be doing something very specific to make use of it. Running AI models locally that are able to make use of system memory, that's a good example. As a general rule of thumb though, if you don't know you need more memory, you probably don't. And in the current market, you absolutely do not want to be paying for more memory that you don't need. Storage really depends once again on your specific needs. In general though, 256GB is tight. Only viable if you don't play games or store a lot of photos on your laptop. 512GB is good enough for most people. 1 terabyte is really what I'd like to see most people doing creative work on their laptop or playing games. Games, they use a lot of storage. Now, 2 terabytes is the max that I'd recommend in a laptop, and that's what I have in my MacBook Pro 16 that I use to edit these videos. Above that, you should really be looking at alternative solutions like, say, a network-attached storage. Or if you are a gamer, add a second drive yourself. Most gaming laptops you see, they have a second SSD slot. Alright, if you don't plan to do gaming or creative work on your laptop, feel free to skip this section, there's timestamps down below, but do not leave the video. After this, I am going to talk about common scams which will affect you. Alright, gamers and creators. You'll want to ensure that your laptop's GPU is powerful. That's the graphics processing unit that renders 3D scenes in games or encodes and decodes media footage in video editing. Some laptops only have integrated GPUs, others have dedicated ones from, say, NVIDIA. Just like we classified CPUs on our website, we've done the heavy lifting for you. GPUs have been classified into poor, basic, good, and max. Poor performing GPUs are really going to limit you to very light gaming. Older titles like League of Legends. Basic GPUs will give you a great gaming experience in those simpler games, and they will allow you to at least try some of the latest AAA titles, although you'll certainly have to dial down the settings. Basic GPUs, they'll also allow you to do some creative work like photo or video editing, so long as your projects are simple. Good GPUs let you fully appreciate the latest AAA games and are capable of professional level creative work. Now, max GPUs, they let you play those new AAA titles at high quality settings with high frame rates, and you can even tackle some more complex creative projects. Now, if you are looking at a laptop with a dedicated GPU, there are a couple of ways that you could be tricked. The same GPU, it can perform completely differently in different laptops. The biggest culprit is the amount of power a manufacturer feeds to it. We've seen laptops with RTX 5070s fed 75 watts, like in HP's Omen Transcend 14, and others feed that same GPU 115. Big difference. The CPU also matters a lot. Do not get a laptop that has a top-tier GPU with a lower-tier CPU. The CPU will be the bottleneck. Laptops like the Razer Blade 16 and Asus's Zephyrus G16, they throttle their RTX 5080s and 5090s because their CPU can't keep up. In fact, a mid-range laptop like HP's Omen 16 with a powerful HX CPU and a full wattage RTX 5060 will outperform many thinner light laptops with the same GPU or even a better one. Another big issue that could hold back your gaming laptop is its configuration of system memory. Some gaming laptops have upgradable memory, and what we've found is that cheaper ones only include a single 8GB or 16GB stick. Not having 2 sticks of memory reduces memory bandwidth and it will slow down your laptop. This is a common problem with cheap gaming laptops like those from, say, Nemo or Dell's Alienware 15. At least good manufacturers like Dell, they disclose this on their website. Now, if you are gaming at high settings at high resolution, say 2560 by 1600, and you are not using upscaling, GPUs with only 8GB of VRAM, that may impact your performance. You'll need to dial down the settings. On paper, an RTX 5070 12GB or a 5070 Ti that also has 12GB, they may not look that much different to a 5070 with 8GB of VRAM, but in reality, they are. So, on our website, we clearly list a GPU's VRAM. In the future, we're actually planning to add the max power a manufacturer feeds to the GPU too. But even then, a laptop may not be able to hit that GPU power limit because of its thermals. We recently found this with Asus's Zephyrus G16 with the RTX 5080. We do call this out as cons in our individual review, and we do list those cons on our website, and we also link to our individual reviews there, so definitely check them out. Alright, I want to end up by talking about some common scams that you really need to avoid. Let's start with third-party sellers. Most online retailers like, say, Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart and Newegg, they've opened up their sites to these third-party sellers. At the same time, they've allowed these third-party sellers to sponsor search results so that they come up first. Many of these laptops are cheaply built, they use old outdated hardware. Worse still, these sellers market these laptops that say gamers or creators, even though the hardware in them is simply not good enough for those tasks. It's very misleading, and I have a video out exposing this which I will link down below. Please be super careful buying from Nemo, Chewy, Jumper and MoleRace or any company like that. Another common issue with third-party sellers is that they fail to mention that the laptop they are selling is an older model. They then sell it for a similar price to the current one, just hoping that you'll be tricked. Take a look at this seller on Best Buy. They're selling last year's Yoga Pro 9i for more than Best Buy themselves are selling that exact same model. They're even trying to entice you with a free USB hub. And of course, third-party sellers may not honour the same return policy as the store. Look, not all third-party sellers are bad, but proceed with caution. Check who is selling the laptop, check if it's a current model, and pay particular attention to negative reviews. On BestLaptop.deals, we almost entirely sell from trusted retailers or the manufacturer themselves. Any third-party seller that we allow are carefully vetted. We also clearly show you which year the laptop is from so you aren't tricked. And by the way, we don't allow anyone to sponsor search results. The recommendations that we give you are based entirely on what is the best laptop for you. Now on that note, you've got to be extremely careful getting laptop advice from AI. AI results are heavily influenced by how often a laptop has been positively reviewed. So AI tends to recommend older laptops with more reviews. AI also heavily weights traditional media, who love producing those low-effort listicles to get clicks. Realistically, if AI gets garbage in, it spits garbage out. We have almost every laptop here. Our recommendations are current, they're based on actually using the laptop for the specific task that we are recommending them for. Plus, on our website, our recommendations actually change dynamically based on a laptop's price. A mediocre laptop might end up being good if it's on a massive sale. Also, sponsorship of tech YouTubers, it seems to be on the rise, and some YouTubers are hiding it with terms like partnered with. Sure, some sponsors allow YouTubers to say a handful of critical points, but obviously, if a review is sponsored, it's going to be positive and criticisms are likely to be swept under the rug. Guys, let me be transparent about how we earn our money. We earn money if you buy a laptop that we recommend. Our incentive here is to find you the best laptop so that you're happy and you refer us to all your friends and family. If we just pushed a specific laptop onto you because we're being paid, we wouldn't achieve that goal, and our business, it wouldn't be growing as fast as it is. And finally, but extremely importantly, do not buy a laptop with financing. A lot of stores have now integrated Klarna, Affirm, and other buy now pay later schemes or credit cards. For many people, these are debt traps. A laptop is a fast appreciating asset. You can quickly find that you owe more on your laptop than it is worth, meaning you cannot escape the debt by selling it. Buying a new laptop is a want, it is not a need, it is not a Coachella ticket. There are a ton of secondhand laptops or older ones that are just cheaper and would really love a new home. Alright, I didn't want this video to be too long, and I think it's already pretty long, so I'm done here. I really hope I helped you out. I'm going to place links down below to my favourite laptops right now for different types of users. But obviously, for more specific recommendations, check out our website, BestLaptop.deals. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and I will catch you later.